And hello again, Warriors fans. I'm Scott Warras. We continue our series previewing all the fall sports as the seasons are about to begin. And our focus now is on the men's soccer program. 25th year head coach Joe Luedke. I was joking with you before. It's silver. Silver is 25, so happy silver anniversary, Joe.
I appreciate that.
Has
Thank you.
Has your team done anything? Do they know it's 25 for you? Have they done anything yet? Maybe there's a surprise coming at some point.
Well,
a cake.
I hope it's a good surprise, if there is one. I probably do get caught mentioning it, and I try to do it for not self-promotion, more so as kind of context in terms of, been doing this a long time and prepare this way. Yeah. Or in my 25 years, this is the most energy I've seen. Try and use it in those ways as opposed to, I've been here 25 years, I know better than you, and I'm old and cranky. I try not to do that because that's not the case.
What do you do? How do you coach differently now than year one?
Oh man, that's such a great question. In year one, I think about this often. In year one, I think that was my most optimistic, idealistic year as a coach and maybe as a human, right? Because you're really excited.
What is this job doing to you?
Yeah, well, you're right. But over time, you get a little more realist, right? But I go back to that often and say that was also probably one of my most enjoyable, most fulfilling. It was, in all honesty, no offense to any former players 25 years ago that might be watching this, it wasn't necessarily a most talented group. But I do refer back to that in terms of what hasn't changed in 25 years, and that is Wisconsin College is still a great place. We still stick true to our ideals, who we are. Those are things that really make me proud to be here, and those things definitely haven't changed. But I have changed in terms of probably a lot more mellow. I try and soak up and enjoy the moments. I also really strive to let the players chart the course more. It's their experience, it's their team. I just try and lead and put my thoughts in as needed, I think, is probably one of the bigger changes.
One of the traditions you've done, I don't think for all 25 years, but at least the last 5-6 years or so, is kind of a preseason team retreat. All your guys report a couple weeks before school starts and before you actually get on the field or mixed in with the on-field work. You go off campus, it's kind of a long weekend. Tell us about that and the benefit of it and what you've learned and what they've learned about themselves because of it.
Yeah, we really try and start with the concept of building a team is trying to have as many shared experiences as possible. You kind of judge it on how many inside jokes do we have as a team, right? I think that shows people are close, right? Whether it's close friends, close families. The more things that we can look at and say, this is men's soccer, this is Warrior soccer, this is our thing, and we're together, and we really get to know each other. So with that thought, it did start about 5 or 6 years ago, and we do go to Camp Whitcomb, which is in Heartland. It's a beautiful place. They have a great dormitory with the food service, soccer fields right outside the door, and we take the team away. And something I think in today's world is a pretty massive thing. And when I tell people, their jaws drop. We do take away their cellular communication. And I don't.
How dare you?
I know.
How dare you?
I don't like to say take away because they do willingly put the phone in the bag. There is no wrestling. They know what's expected of them, and they put their phone in, and it's almost instantaneous how quickly just the vibe changes, the mood changes, players talking to each other, interacting with each other. When guys go to bed, it takes till 1, 2 in the morning for them to be quiet because they're talking. And we go to Camp Whitcomb as a group of individuals that want to play soccer at Wisconsin College, and we leave there as a team. And that to me is the most important thing that we do. And it allows the guys to connect without any distractions.
I can only imagine that when you had them surrender their phones for the weekend, 5-6 years ago, it wasn't quite as painful as it is now. And I'm sure next year will be even more painful as the reliability on those devices just becomes stronger.
Oh, for sure. We haven't had any withdrawals. I wonder if there's going to be a case of shaking, and I'm going to have to call someone. But it is. I could see it getting harder.
It's kind of refreshing, though. Like, I don't know if you've ever done this. Like, sometimes I'll forget my phone at home. Yeah. And for a moment, you kind of like, oh no, how is my life going to continue without my phone? And then I realize, you know what, I'll be fine. And it's almost freeing. Once you realize, you know what, you'll be okay for a day or whatever.
Yeah. Bring back the flip phone, is what you're saying.
Let's talk about this roster. Optimism is very high, excitement is very high because you have 4 all-conference guys coming back from last season. Big picture here before we talk about some individual personnel items and whatnot. The veteran nature of this team is a luxury, and I'm sure a lot of coaches in the conference and around the country would love to have that type of experience coming back.
Yeah, it has been a really welcome change to years past, to where we come in to a season, we come into a preseason, and we play for the first time, because we do play some 11v11 in preseason. And I'm watching it, and I'm going, man, the guys understand, they're playing our way. There isn't a lot of, wow, no one knows what they're doing, right? So, and the guys have mentioned that too, that there's a comfort level, and guys know what the expectations are, and some of them have said, Coach, we're better than last year. To which the coach in me gets a little guarded and say, well, we don't play last year's schedule. We don't have last year's weather bounces. We have to make sure that we don't rely on the fact that we had some success last year and we're bringing back old guys, because we play a sport, I think, where the margins are thin, and it's going to require us to play hard, play right, enjoy ourselves, and get out and get after it. So the veteran presence is really nice, because I think our identity is somewhat set, but there's still so many challenges and wrinkles that we're going to have to iron out that we don't know what those are yet.
Does that mean, because of how much of experience you have coming back, that this particular year, this particular preseason training camp, you as a coach can start further down the line? You're not starting at point A, maybe you're starting at point M or something like that, because there's institutional knowledge already built in. Is that fair?
Yes, that's very fair. And I think we are probably into fine-tuning things now a little further. We're further ahead in that respect. But I was just thinking about this morning, really, as I go to try and plan practices and plan sessions this time of the year, you're still trying to institute things and trying to get ready for your first game coming up on Friday. But until we actually watch back a game, until we watch some film, then we really won't know what this year's team is truly going to be like, strength and weaknesses. So I think there's still some unknowns, but definitely less.
Friday is the opener. It'll be here at home at Warrior Soccer Field against Ripon at 7 o'clock. We'll get to that more in just a second. Let's talk about some of these returners and the reasons for the optimism and things like that. And Puma Galvin, and we had him on a couple of times last year when he was Player of the Week in the NAC. Really mature young man. And I know, in talking with you last week, how last year ended in the conference tournament was really a catalyst for him deciding to come back, because he didn't have to come back. He's got his degree. He's good to go. And I know there was some indecision, but that maybe kind of tipped it in the favor of coming back.
Yeah, I think the way the last year ended, I mean, anytime you lose in a penalty kick shootout, especially a penalty kick shootout where you're ahead 3-1, I think that was just a really hard pill for everyone to swallow. And then if you're a player who has eligibility left, that's going to eat on you and really kind of play on your mind that, hey, I want to come back and do this again. So having a guy like Puma back, the other guys who have chose to come back, I think their leadership and their appreciation of each moment is really coming through in how they're going about their business.
Have you noticed a different, and you know Puma really well, have you noticed a little difference in him this year at all?
So last year, Puma was coming back from Achilles tendon injury. And last year, Puma, in preseason, it was a slow progression. And I don't know if we saw the best of Puma last year, as he was still coming back from, that's a major surgery, a major injury. This has been the best I've seen him in terms of, Puma. When we think of Puma, we think of so many different things, right? We think of leadership, personality. He's a great goalkeeper with his feet. He has this presence about it. But at the end of the day, I tell our goalkeepers, they give you the gloves for a reason. You got to make saves, right? At the end of the day, are you making saves? In this preseason, Puma's making saves. I mean, I think last night he made a great save. You're like, man, he's got all these other intangibles. Then he pulls out a save like that. That's when you know you have someone special.
Jack, speaking of special, Jack Level, first team All-NAC honoree, and his defense was a big reason why your team defense was one of the best in the country, let alone in the conference. His maturation, his progress, it's been rewarding to watch as a fan, I imagine as a coach even more so.
Yeah, again, last night Jack Level just did a couple things that were just mannish, right? You're watching like that's just a grown man.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a couple freshmen are on the receiving end of that. But he's matured physically, mentally, and Jack has just this innate sense of where to put his body, when to go in for a tackle. He's a great competitor. He has, besides the physical ability, he's got some intangibles about him that make him a really special player. Whatever team Jack is on in training seems to come out ahead.
Hector Cervantes, Tony Bedoya, two other all-conference honorees that are back from last year's team. I know you're high, obviously, on what they're going to do and bring forth. Real quickly, in just some of the time we have left, and I'd love to go through player by player, we just don't have the time. It is one of the largest rosters you've had, but we still wouldn't have time nonetheless. Give us a couple names of maybe some young guys. I know you've got a Luedke on the roster for the first time ever that maybe fans don't know but need to know more about.
Yeah, I think this time of the year it's great to talk about the freshman class as a whole. I think there are going to be some freshmen that jump out and earn significant playing time and hopefully contribute. We do have some goal scorers in that freshman mix, and that's an area of need for us. So we need to get some attacking production out of them. They need to also realize that as a freshman, it's a bit of a marathon. Even though this college soccer season is short, it does get long for freshmen, and there is something, the proverbial freshman wall does get hit. But we're really excited about that freshman class, and guys like Hector, Tony, those are guys that we need to step up and score some goals as well. They're technically great leaders. The work rate, Hector's been working extremely hard, so it's nice when, arguably, or not arguably, our best player on the field is Hector, and he's also been one of our hardest workers. In our preseason game against Carthage, he was the hardest working player on the team, on the field. In training, he's one of the hardest working guys, and that just sets such an amazing tone to have a player like that also working as hard as he is.
Your team over the last couple of years has treated the home fans to a great deal of success. You've only got one loss at home over the last 2 years. What has been the key to that? What is the key to continuing that for a third year? That dominance.
Yeah, I think for us it's a mindset when we play at home. We obviously want to protect our home field, and some of that are I think it's just coach speak and words. I think at the end of the day it comes down to are we sharp, mentally sharp? Are we dialed in? Are we ready? Are we willing to put out physically what needs to be done in order to find success on that day? So I try and break it down to I don't think there's anything magical, although it's becoming a magical place because it's a great setting. The field's in great shape this year. But it really is, can we go about the steps of what make us successful, and can we keep on doing that? And I think being at home, potentially maybe there's a little bit higher level of mental focus that I could maybe point to that makes us more successful at home.
Real quick, before we have a little fun with 5 questions at the end, letting every coach, as we're doing these previews, give a shout out to his staff, because there's so much that goes into everything behind the scenes. So give those folks a shout out. Give those guys a shout out.
So John Stew's coming back. He was a 2014 grad. I hope that's right. Here at WLC, had a great goalkeeping career. He's been back and been with me for a long time. Ryan Mazza's new this year. He's a younger guy who is just a great recruiter, passionate about the game, really knowledgeable. The guys really like him, which I think is good. As you mentioned so eloquently that I've been here for 25 years. That also means that I'm not 25. So having someone who's younger, I think, is a really good thing as well. And then Trent Biesterfeld's back again this year. And I think if one word could describe the staff, it would be loyalty, not just to me, which I think is important as a head coach, but also to the program, to Wisconsin Within College, and to the players. They truly love everything about it, and that comes through in the fact that they're here. And there's longevity. We've always been blessed with some longevity within our staff, and John Stew now is showing that. But I would say loyalty to our process and who we are is what really impresses me about those guys.
A veteran staff overall, and a veteran roster as well, with high expectations and high hopes, certainly is going to make this year very, very interesting, very, very exciting. All right, Coach, before we let you go, in the time-honored tradition of these interviews, we're going to throw 5 questions at you. Don't overthink it. It's just the first answer that comes to mind. Are you ready?
Yes.
Here we go. Number 1, what is your biggest fear or phobia?
Oh, man, I'm claustrophobic to the 9th degree. Sometime I have a great story. Sometime when you have time, I will tell you why.
Oh, boy. If animals could talk, which one do you think would be the rudest?
Oh, man. That is... That's a hard one.
You see an animal, that would be a rude talking animal.
Oh. I'm going to pass. Let me come back, though. Because, I don't know if anyone's not... Has anyone passed in the history of
I'm going to come back to it.
I'm
not going to let you have the waffle bar or omelet bar. That's an easier one.
Omelet bar.
What was your first pet, and what was its name?
Golden retriever named Brandy.
What is your favorite Girl Scout cookie?
Has to be the Thin Mints.
Popular choice. Now we have to come back. If animals could talk, which would be the rudest speaking animal?
The rudest speaking cat. I've just upset 50% of the population right there. I apologize.
So I could have asked dog or cats. I think you're a dog person.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the bonus question. What advice would Coach Joe Luedke, in his 25th season, what advice would Coach Luedke give to player Joe Luedke at UW-Milwaukee back in the day? If the coach could advise the player you.
Wow, that might be one of the best, most introspective questions I've ever been asked.
Well, we go deep here at the very
That
end.
is great. I would say to take advantage of every moment, and I personally wish I would have put more time into my craft. If I could go back and be a 16-year-old again even, but that first preseason experience at UWM, which was very difficult, if I could go back and spend more time to try and reach my full potential. Because you have a window, and once that window's closed, I can never put on a collegiate jersey again. Not that it would fit me, but I couldn't put it on again. I would say that would be it, that take advantage of it, prioritize the fact that yes, you have school, yes, you have social life, but to put that extra time into the craft of being an athlete, because you only get to be this college athlete for a short period of time. And you want to walk away from it saying, I did everything I could to become as good as I could. That's what I would tell myself.
That's well said, well said. Season begins. The 2024 campaign begins on Friday, 7 o'clock. It would not be a season opener if the Warriors didn't play Ripon.
That is right.
That's
right. That's how we do it.
That's etched in stone somewhere in the NAC headquarters. It'll be 7 o'clock out at Warriors Soccer Field, and Joe Luedke will be leading them out of the tunnel. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. All the best
appreciate
of skill, and thanks for watching. We'll see you Friday.